Hey guys, welcome to today's video. And I'm going to read you Horrid Henry's Underpants by Francesca Simon, illustrated by Tony Ross. So let's get started. For Gina Kowarski. Horrid Henry eats a vegetable. Ugh! Gross! Yuck! Bleach! Horrid Henry glared at the horrible, disgusting food slithering on his plate. Globby, slobby blobs. Bumpy lumps. Rubbery, blubbery gloobs of gloop. Ugh! How Dad and Mum and Peter could eat this swill without throwing up was amazing. Henry poked at the white, knobbly clumps. It looked like brains. It felt like brains. Maybe it was. Ew. Horrid Henry pushed away his plate. I can't eat this, moaned Henry. I'll be sick. Henry, cauliflower cheese is delicious, said Mum. And nutritious, said Dad. I love it, said Perfect Peter. Can I have seconds? It's nice to know someone appreciates my cooking, said Dad. He frowned at Henry. But I hate vegetables, said Henry. Yuck! Vegetables were so healthy and tasted so vegetably. I want pizza. Well, you can't have it, said Dad. Ralph has pizza and chips every night at his house, said Henry. And Gram never has to eat a vegetable. I don't care what Ralph and Gram eat, said Mum. You've got to eat more vegetables, said Dad. I eat loads of vegetables, said Henry. Name one, said Dad. Crisps, said Henry. Crisps aren't vegetables, are they, Mum? Said Perfect Peter. No, said Mum. Go on, Henry. Ketchup, said Henry. Ketchup is not a vegetable, said Dad. It's impossible cooking for you, said Mum. You're such a picky eater, said Dad. I eat loads of things, said Henry. Like what? Said Dad. Chips, crisps, burgers, pizza, chocolate, sweets, cake, biscuits, loads of food, said Horrid Henry. That's not very healthy, Henry, said Perfect Peter. You haven't said any fruit or vegetables. So, said Henry. Mind your own business, Toad. Henry called me Toad, wailed Peter. Ribbit, ribbit, croaked Horrid Henry. Don't be horrid, Henry, snapped Dad. You can't go on eating so unhealthily, said Mum. Agreed, said Dad. Uh-oh, thought Henry. Here it comes. Nag, nag, nag. If there were prizes for best naggers, Mum and Dad would win every time. I'll make a deal with you, Henry, said Mum. What? Said Henry suspiciously. Mum and Dad's deals usually involved his doing something horrible for a pathetic reward. Well, no way was he falling for that. If you eat all your vegetables for 5 nights in a row, we'll take you to Gobble and Go. Henry's heart missed a beat. Gobble and Go. Gobble and Go. Only Henry's favorite restaurant in the whole wide world. Their motto, the chips just keep on coming, shone from a purple neon sign. Music blared from 20 loudspeakers. Each table had its own TV. You could watch the chefs heat up your food in a giant microwave. Best of all, grown-ups never wanted to hang about for hours and chat. You ordered, gobbled, and left. Heaven! And what fantastic food! Jumbo burgers, huge pizzas, lakes of ketchup, as many crisp chips as you could eat, 52 different ice creams, and not a vegetable in sight. For some reason, Mum and Dad hated Gobble and Go. They'd taken him once and sworn they would never go again. And now, unbelievably, Mum was offering... "Deal!" shouted Henry in case she changed her mind. "So we're agreed," said Mum. "You eat your vegetables every night for 5 nights, and then we'll go." "Sure, whatever," said Horrid Henry eagerly. He'd agreed to do anything for a meal at Gobble and Go. He'd agreed to dance naked down the street, singing, "Hallelujah, I'm a nudie," for the chance to eat at Gobble and Go. Perfect Peter stopped eating his cauliflower. He didn't look very happy. "I always eat my vegetables," said Peter. "What's my reward?" "Health." Day 1. String beans. "Mum, Henry hasn't eaten any beans yet," said Peter. "I have 2, lied Henry. "No, you haven't," said Peter. "I've been watching." "Shut up, Peter," said Henry. "Mum," wailed Peter. "Henry told me to shut up." "Don't tell your brother to shut up," said Mum. "It's rude," said Dad. "Now eat your veg." Horrid Henry glared at his plate, teeming with slimy string beans, just like a bunch of green worms, he thought. Yuck! He must have been mad agreeing to eat vegetables for 5 nights in a row. He'd be poisoned before day 3. Then they'd be sorry. "How could we have been so cruel?" Mum would shriek. "We've killed our own son," Dad would moan. "Why, oh why did we make him eat his greens?" They would sob. Too bad he'd be dead so he couldn't scream, "I told you so." "We have a deal, Henry," said Dad. "I know," snapped Henry. He cut off the tiniest bit of string bean he could. "Go on," said Mum. Slowly, Horrid Henry lifted his fork and put the poison in his mouth. Arg! It was a horrible taste. Henry spat and spluttered as the sickening sliver of a string bean stuck in his throat. "Water!" he gasped. Perfect Peter speared several beans and popped them in his mouth. "Great string beans, Dad," said Peter. "So crispy and crunchy." "Have mine if you like them so much," muttered Henry. "I want to see you eat every one of those string beans," said Dad. "Or no, Gobble and Go." Horrid Henry scowled. No way was he eating another mouthful. The taste was too horrible. But oh, Gobble and Go, those burgers, those chips, those TVs. There had to be another way. Surely he, King Henry the Horrible, could defeat a plate of greens. Horrid Henry worked out his battle plan. It was dangerous. It was risky. But what choice did he have? First, he had to distract the enemy. "You know, Mum," said Henry, pretending to chew, "you were right. These are very tasty." Mum beamed. Dad beamed. "I told you you'd like them if you tried them," said Mum. Harry pretended to swallow. Then speared another bean. He pushed it around his plate. Mum got up to refill the water jug. Dad turned to speak to her. Now was his chance. Horrid Henry stretched out his foot under the table and lightly tickled Peter's leg. "Look out, Peter, there's a spider on your leg." "Where?" squealed Peter, looking frantically under the table. Leap, plop. Henry's beans hopped onto Peter's plate. Peter raised his head. "I don't see a spider," said Peter. I knocked it off, mumbled Henry, pretending to chew vigorously. Then Peter saw his plate piled high with string beans. Ooh, said Peter. Lucky me! I thought I'd finished. Tee-hee, thought Horrid Henry. Day 2. Broccoli. Plip! A piece of Henry's broccoli accidentally fell on the floor. Henry kicked it under Peter's chair. Plop! Another piece of Henry's broccoli fell, and another, and another. Plip, plop, plip, plop, plip, plop. Soon the floor under Peter's chair was littered with broccoli bits. Mum, said Henry. Peter's making a mess. Don't be a telltale, Henry, said Dad. He's always telling on me, said Henry. Dad checked under Peter's chair. Peter, eat more carefully. You're not a baby anymore. Ha ha ha, thought Horrid Henry. Day 3. Peas. Squish. Henry flattened a pea under his knife. Squash. Henry flattened another one. Squish, squash, squish, squash. Soon every pea was safely squished and hidden under Henry's knife. Great dinner, Dad, said Horrid Henry. Especially the peas. I'll clear, he added, carrying his plate to the sink and quickly rinsing his knife. Dad beamed. Eating vegetables is making you helpful, said Dad. Yes, said Henry sweetly. It's great being helpful. Day 4. Cabbage. Bzzz, bzzz. A fly landed on my cabbage, shrieked Henry. He swatted the air with his hands. Where? Said Mum. There, said Henry. He leapt out of his seat. Now it's on the fridge. Bzzz, said Henry under his breath. I don't see any fly, said Dad. Up there, said Henry, pointing to the ceiling. Mum looked up, Dad looked up, Peter looked up. Henry dumped a handful of cabbage in the bin. Then he sat back down at the table. Rats, said Henry. I can't eat the rest of my cabbage now, can I? Not after a filthy, horrible, disgusting fly has walked all over it, spreading germs and dirt and poo and... All right, said Dad. Leave the rest. I'm a genius, thought Horrid Henry, smirking. Only one more battle until vegetable victory. Day 5. Sprouts. Mum ate her sprouts. Dad ate his sprouts. Peter ate his sprouts. Henry glared at his sprouts. Of all the miserable, rotten vegetables ever invented, sprouts were the worst. So bitter, so stomach-churning, so green. But how to get rid of them? There was Peter's head, a tempting target, a very tempting target. Henry's sprout-flicking fingers itched. No, thought Horrid Henry. I can't blow it when I'm so close. Should he throw them on the floor, spit them in his napkin? Or, Horrid Henry beamed. There was a little drawer in the table in front of Henry's chair. A perfect Brussels sprout-sized drawer. Henry eased it open. What could be simpler than stuffing a sprout or two inside while pretending to eat? Soon the drawer was full. Henry's plate was empty. Look, Mum! Look, Dad! Screeched Henry. All gone, he thought gleefully. Which was true, he thought gleefully. Well done, Henry, said Dad. Well done, Henry, said Peter. We'll take you to Gobble and Go tomorrow, said Mum. Yippee! Screamed Horrid Henry. Mum, Dad, Henry and Peter walked up the street. Mum, Dad, Henry and Peter walked down the street. Where was Gobble and Go with its flashing neon sign, blaring music and purple walls? They must have walked past it. But how? Horrid Henry looked about wildly. It was impossible to miss Gobble and Go. You could see that neon sign for miles. It was right here, said Horrid Henry. But Gobble and Go was gone. In its place, the virtuous veg read the sign. A new restaurant squatted in its place. The virtuous veg read the sign. The all-new vegetable restaurant. Horrid Henry gazed in horror at the menu posted outside. Cabbage casserole, pop-up peas, spinach surprise, sprouts a-go-go, choice of rhubarb or broccoli ice cream. Yummy, said Perfect Peter. Look, Henry, said Mum. It's serving all your new favorite vegetables. Horrid Henry opened his mouth to protest. Then he closed it. He knew when he was beaten. And that's the end for today. Bye!